What is CSP? CSP is a mission where we spread awareness about the community's effect on us and how we understand the stories we tell ourselves and the practices we follow. Our team consists of Aryan, me, Ashraf, Kartikeya, Lakshita, Madhvik, Mahati, Manha, and Mihika. We have been working and researching on the stories and practices that influence us and our community's understanding of how they influence each other and each get influenced.
Last time we spoke about 6 personas Neha, Alia, Harry, Jade, Dev, and Pooja. Neha, who is gender discriminated, told herself that no one could define her worth, and her growth led to her own creation of women's empowerment football. Alia, who has the need to fit in with her friends by being somewhat different from herself. Harry, who faced a problem of suppressing his emotions as he was taught boys never cry. Jade, who was married at an early age, had different responsibilities and from her reflections, regret for not standing her ground and pursuing higher education always popped up. Dave, who faced racism and became anorexic because he started eating less as he saw perfect lives and felt lonely. And Pooja, who had a happy life thanks to dance. Although, because her parents were scared that dancing would get her nowhere, she became unbalanced and now is back to being balanced because she realized how much she really loves to dance.
We wanted to know how people know what stories and practices meant and that they affect our community. So, we surveyed our community. From the survey, we understood that out of 135 people who attempted the survey, a majority of them were aware that we tell ourselves stories, that they affect us, and that stories and practices affect us and our community. We also got that when people are given the choice, there is a tendency to jump to conclusion and not understand why the depression or empowering practices or story exists.
The stories we tell ourselves are connected to our community as well as our practices, and they affect us strongly. A community is any group of people with a set of beliefs, values, or interests who come together. Stories are our perception of events, which is a collection of our narratives, beliefs, while practices are the rituals, behaviors, and actions we follow. Each has an impact on one another. Our stories influence our community, and our stories also impact how we behave, which should be our practices. How we behave has an impact on how we perceive events, which are our stories, and also how we influence someone in our community. And we are constantly influenced by our community. Both our stories and practices get influenced by the exposure we have.
This is why our problem statement is that there is a lack of awareness on how we get influenced, the meaning we derive out of what we experience, and the choices we make from those derived meanings.
We understand that our exposure has a huge influence on our stories and practices. And when we say influence, we mean having the capacity to have an effect on being as a whole, their actions, behaviors, growth, and even mindsets. Looking at the survey and our understanding of influences, we wondered about our own influences. We arrived at many influences such as Arundhati Roy, Ed Sheeran, Shrija Ma'am, and a show like the NCIS. We then chunked them into 4 categories: social media like Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter; school, our peers and facilitators; media contents can be songs, books, and podcasts, and etc. And people around me can be friends and family.
To understand these influences in our own community, we did interviews with our school drivers, facilitators, and children, and we got similar responses of the 4 chunks. This is an influence field. We created this to be able to track each individual's influences and how much each component influences us. We have, as said, 4 communities. in which the influences mainly come from. Now, these four communities will come in our innermost circle after your name. Then, in the next three circles, write the influences each of these communities has on you. All of these, as you can see, have been given a percentage in the beginning circle of the influences, and it makes the biggest effect then. From there, it goes to 30% and then to 20%.
This is the attempt of a 12-year-old boy, where he identified family, the Falcons class, WhatsApp, and songs were his major influences. We attempted lots of other influences wheels ourselves, and we arrived at how songs play a huge role in our student community, and hence pushed out the Mentimeter link. And these are our results.
Now say we listen to a song. We were wondering about how it actually influences us. While we know what influences us, we want to break down what the influence would mean. As we discussed, it led to finding criteria like profanity, creator's view, emotions, cultural context, and current state. Like, have you ever heard a song where they become really emotional and you don't? Or is there vulgar language in the song and you immediately disconnect? Or even it seemed to really connect with you and how you are really feeling in that place, and it connected to your current state.
Well, we coded all of this into a meter, which we call the influential meter, because it measures the level of empowering, disempowering, and powerful influence anything has on us. For our meter, green means highly empowering influences, and yellow is a very disempowering influence. Let's show you an example. Let us show you an example. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift is one of the songs that stood out in the Menti survey we took. And if we were to put it through our meter, we would look at each criteria at each level in the criteria. So for profanity, I see little profanity, which should be a 3. And there are judgmental and extremist views on how to live life or how to deal with other people. That would be a 2. And when I look at the emotion it brings out, I actually feel anger and frustration. So that would make this a 1. Then we have the cultural practice, and truthfully, this doesn't seem related to much I do at all. So that makes it a 1 as well. And lastly, we have if this is connected to our current state. Well, I connect to it partially, so I can put a 2. The total score is 20, and the level it becomes is 4.5. This, as you can see by the color, it is super close to a disempowering practice. Hence, in my perspective, disempowering influence. Hence, in my perspective, it becomes a disempowering influence. And we have done many such attempts. Now that we understand that interactions and the media content we engage with are empowering and disempowering, we worked on a tool to help shift our disempowering practices to build more empowering ones. This tool starts with us identifying a story or a practice and being aware of its impact on us. Then we empathize with ourselves with the help of MCD and empathy hubs to understand why we are behaving in the way we are. After that, we can understand whether we have to just break this practice or build a different practice. After we understand this, we have to actually figure out a strategy to meet the needs from our empathy routine, which will help us get to how to break or build the practice. We put the strategy into a tracker to check the effect of the strategy and to track how well we are able to meet our goals.
A 14-year-old attempted this, and here is how she did. She became aware of the practice of her binge rewatching and attempted the empathy routine, with which she understood she was judging herself and seeing work as something she really cannot do. She then understood that to actually not follow through with this practice and to build a better one, she had to shift her mindset and see how differently she could see the work. She now saw it as an opportunity to build her skills. Once she understood this, she tried to arrive at strategies of talking to a trusted person to get the support she needed. Journal her experience to express herself more and empathize with herself every time the situation occurred. After all this, she decided to start tracking whenever she felt the need to binge rewatch and track it daily to see improvement.
While creating and implementing the tool, we saw that we have to make a choice after every step. We have to choose to be aware. We have to choose to do the empathy as deep as we can. We have to choose to break strategy and with it. We still continue to now that we have a better understanding of the power of choice and have seen examples as well, let's take a look at how we can use it. We need to make the right choices in the kind of media content we view and engage with. We plan to start a blog on which we will provide empowering articles and content. By content, we mean sharing our understanding of empowering and disempowering songs, TV shows, and music.
Our next steps are to create and update podcasts and websites to spread awareness on stories, practices, how they affect you, and how you can deal with them. Second, to continue to make the tools better and to try them out to see if they work through every situation. Third, we would also like to make an app that has all of these tools that will merge them all into one. And lastly, we are also planning to make another second survey to get more input for other people's influences. We will send this out to facilitators, children, and even parents. Thank you to Shruti ma'am, Disha ma'am, Shravya ma'am, Nancy ma'am, and Shrija ma'am.